big part of a data analyst job is building dashboards. And the best way to get better at them is to build a lot of them. So in this video, we're going to build a professional looking and interactive Tableau dashboard. If we haven't met yet, my name is Luis, and I'm here to help you break into data analytics or improve your analytics skills. So let's get started. So we've opened up Tableau, and we are going to be using the sample Superstore dataset that comes with every installation of Tableau. So you don't have to download anything, everything is here for you. So let's double click to open that up, and let's take a quick look at the data. It actually consists of 3 tables: orders, people, and returns. Let me expand this here. And if you can see, and we're mainly going to be using the orders data set. I'm not really going to concern myself about the other two. But if you take a quick look at the data, you've got order ID, order date, shipment date, the ship mode. That tells you if it was standard class, first class, 2-day shipping, things like that. The customer, the segment of the customer, if it was a consumer product, home office product, or a corporate product. And then if it the country, it's United States or Canada. The city, the state, province, postal code, region, category, subcategory, category of product, and these are office supplies, furniture, or technology. Then you got subcategories that has a lot of other subcategories that we can explore later. The product name. Then we got the sales, which is the amount of sales for a particular order. Then we have the quantity, which is the quantity of products ordered. Then we have the discount, which we're not going to be talking about in this demo. But it's if any discount was applied to the order, and the profit, which is the profit generated from the sale. And the rest, the manufacturer, the profit bin, I don't really care about that right now, so let's go to sheet 1. So the first thing we're going to do is build our KPI numbers. So let me give you an example. This is what the finished dashboard is going to look like. We're going to build these 3 boxes at the top that tell you they give you a snapshot of the total number and the percent change from the previous year. Let's go ahead and get started. First thing we need to do is isolate those numbers for the first year, right? So you saw we're going to start with profit. And what I want is basically, I just want this number to be whatever the profit was at the end of the year or for the entire year. I could do that using filters and whatnot, but I want a calculated field that gives me that exact number. So to do that, we're going to do a quick calculation. It says if year of order date equals, we're going to add a bracket here, max year of order date, then sales. And I missed the add a bracket here, and then end. Oh, we said profit, so it should not profit. Then profit. There we go. So what this is doing, it's looking at if the year of the order date, so it's going to look through all the individual order dates in my field. It's going to look for whenever those equal the max year of the order date. So in this data set, the max year is 2023 right now. I'm using Tableau 2023.1, and this is today's December 4th. So depending on when you're doing this, the numbers might be slightly different, but the calculations will work the same. Anyway, so if the max year and the order date and all of the data set is 2023, which is the max, then it's going to return profit. Otherwise, it's not going to show anything. So if there's an order date from 2022, 2021, it's not going to be taken into account for this calculation. But let's hit apply so you can see what I'm saying. Let's do this. I'm going to bring order date to columns and bring in profit. Right, so here's the profit for every single year. And if I click in profit current year, as you can see, the only thing it brings me is the profit for the current year. So now I can do all sorts of calculations using this, and it's only going to be the profit for the current year. All right, so we made our first calculation, and it's current year. So I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm going to right-click, duplicate, right-click, edit, and I'm going to call this profit PY for previous year. And what we're going to do here is we're going to use the exact same formula, except we're going to add a -1. So now it's doing the exact same thing, right? It's looking at the year of the order date, and it's making sure that the max, so it's going to get that max, but it's going to subtract 1. So instead of being the max, it's going to be 1 from the max, right? It's going to be 2022. And let's bring in the year. So I should have kept example, but here's orders, and we're going to say profit. So we're going to bring in the profit, current year, and previous year. So as you can see, the current year only gives me that value for 2023, and previous year only gives me the value for the previous year. All right, so now we can do all kinds of fun things. Anyways, let's clear the dashboard again. I'm gonna calculate one more thing. I'm gonna add profit. I want to add the percent difference between both of those numbers. So profit, percent diff. And this is going to be the sum of current year of, cannot type today, profit of the current year minus the sum of previous year. Close that parentheses, divided by the sum of profit previous year. And this is just your usual, typical percent change calculation. So now we have current year profit, we have previous year profit, and we have percent difference. I'm just gonna do a chart here. Oh, and we have to format this as a percent. So we'll go right click, percentage. I usually don't like adding decimal places. It depends on what your numbers are, but if you're gonna make them round, clean numbers, we'll just do that. And so now we have all three, and we can start building our KPI table. We're not quite done, but we can start building it. So I'm gonna bring in my current year profit current year, bring that into text, and the percent difference, bring that in as well. And then let me come in here, profit, and I'm just gonna type this in. Profit, and I'm gonna make this size 16 because I want it big. Then I'm gonna click here, I'm gonna make the size 18 as I want that bigger. And then these, I'm gonna keep this right now probably at a 9 or so. Yeah, let's keep that, and let's make sure all this is bolded. How does that look? Okay, not too bad right now. I'll center all of this, apply. There we go, profit. And let me change the colors a bit. I want this color, cool. And now I want to format this as a dollar, as a format right here. Instead of the number, we'll hit currency custom, and I don't want to see the cents, so I want to get rid of them. All right, so we got the title, we got the profit number, and we got 16%, which is the change, right? So let's go back in here. I'm going to save versus last year. Or you could say versus previous year, versus 2022, whatever you want. I'm just going to leave last year for now. All right, so we got the base of the KPI built. We've got the profit title, we've got the amount of the profit, and we got the percent change since last year. But what we want to add is an indicator, if it's going up or down, in the means of an arrow. And we also want to color code that number. If it's positive, it's going to be a dark blue. If it's negative, it's going to be an orange. So to do that, we need to build 2 new calculated fields, really 4, but it's pairs of 2s, and they're about the same. The first one is going to be this profit year over year, and this is negative, right? So what this does, it's going to say if the profit percent difference, which we just made, is less than 0, it's going to display the percent difference. And the other one, it's exact same thing, except this time if it's equal to or greater than 0, it's going to show that percent. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to remove the percent difference from the text, and I'm going to add both of these in. Just going to drag them into the text, and as you can see, let me remove the one I just added. So as you can see, nothing is added because the percent change was positive. It was 16%. So let's do that again. I'm going to remove that, and nothing changes, right? I'm going to add the positive one, and now you can see the 16 is in there, and I'm going to add the negative, and nothing changes because since it's less than 0, it doesn't display it. The only thing I want to do now is format these as percents. Number format, percentage, and no decimal places. All right, so it's 16%. I'm going to do the same thing for the negative. Number format, percentage, 2 zeros. All right, so now we're going to click on the text, and I'm going to remove all this empty space, and I'm going to copy this. Well, I'm going to copy both of these and put them before last year. So remove this, Let me do that. And we don't need a space between these, but we do need a space between last year just so it looks better. So look at that, 16% versus last year. But are we up or down? So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to look at the arrows. So we need to make 2 new calculated fields to show that arrow. So I'm going to create this. I'm going to call this profit arrow up. And basically we'll just do if that percent diff of profit greater than or equal to 0, then display an up arrow. And I'll have this symbol in the description where you can just find any up arrow that you want. And then just put an end at the end. Oh, messed up that. All right, so if profit percent difference is greater than or equals to 0, then up. Otherwise, end. Now I'm going to duplicate it. And profit arrow down. So now, if it's less than 0, then it's going to show a down arrow. All right, so I'm going to drag this into the text as well. So notice I dragged the down arrow, nothing shows, just like the text, and profit arrow up, and now we see it. Now we just need to format it. So arrow down, or copy and paste it up here, arrow up, same thing. I'm gonna copy it and paste it down here. Delete those, I'm gonna hit apply, and now it's looking better. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to color code these. So I'm gonna just select the arrow up, colors, and the color I like to use for my blues is this one. You're welcome to use any color you want as long as you are consistent. And that copy didn't work. Let me try that again. There we go. So it's 06549F. And make sure that's bolded. I'm going to do the same thing for profit up. I'm going to select the same color. And for profit down, I'm just going to do default orange. The orange is orange. And make sure all of these are bolded. All right, now hit apply. And now there we go. And what we're doing here is basically, I could have just had the percent difference in here instead of having year over year percent up and year over year down. But by having 2 of them, I can format them how I want. And there's a couple different ways to do this, but I find this one to be easiest. And now hit apply. Okay, and now we've got one of our main KPIs already built. So name this profit KPI. Cool. So now we just have to do the same thing for sales and quantity. So let's start that up. Sales KPI, and we can just duplicate what we did earlier. So profit current year, I'm gonna duplicate this and edit. And I'm gonna say, call this sales current year. Because the only thing we need to change in here are the sales. So look at sales instead of profit. And now profit previous year. Ooh, almost edited the real one. Duplicate. Edit. Call this sales PY. And I like to start my calculated fields with whatever the measure I'm looking at. So when I'm looking for profit, for example, I'm just going to type profit in here. I can see all my calculated fields. Same thing for sales, right? Just makes it a little easier. All right, so we got current year, previous year, and now I need to calculate all of this. Profit percent difference, duplicate, edit, and it's going to be sales percent difference. And I'm just going to drag this in, sales current year, sales previous year, sales previous year. All right, so that's my sales percent difference. And duplicate this and duplicate that. All right, edit, and this is my sales year over year negative. And make sure this is my sales percent difference and my sales percent difference in here. And that was up, so let's do this. I mean, that was down, now this one is up. Sales year over year. Sales percent diff. And now I just need the arrows. Duplicate. Edit. Sales. And I can also just type it in here, sales percent diff. But sometimes I see that little error, but just delete that. And this is copy, but it's not a copy. All right. And I just need cells arrow down. Oh, no, so I just did cells arrow up. Duplicate. Cells arrow up, and it's not a copy. And cells percent difference. All right, so I think that's everything we need to build this. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll start with the sales current year, my text, and that, and then actually let's choose this. Type in sales. Here you can find everything I need to do. So we'll throw in the sales arrow up, sales arrow down, year-over-year percent change, and now let's format it. All right, so this is sales. So I'm gonna put sales at the top. I believe we said this was size 16. And I'm gonna call it this color and make sure it's bolded. This is size 18. Also bold. Actually, let me just highlight everything and bold it. All right, and now we can just delete this space. So these are next to each other. Same thing down here, delete it one more time. And I will add a space here between this and in here versus last year. And arrow down, we're gonna color that orange. Arrow up, it's gonna be our blue. Down is orange, up is dark blue. Hit apply, and there we go. The only thing here is we'll do a center align. There we go, there's our sales KPI. Oh, let me just format this as dollars and no cents. All right, so now we're gonna move on to our quantity KPI. All right, so I skipped ahead for quantity since we've already done this twice, but it's the same thing we already did. We created the current year, previous year, and all the other KPIs. So let's go ahead and throw that into the text. Here's my quantity order for the year. Arrow down, arrow up, year over year plus, year over year minus. Let's format it. First, let's do center. This is size, bold everything. Size 18, these are all size 9, that's fine. Plus is my dark blue, down is orange, up is dark blue, down is orange. Make sure these are all in the same row with one space between them. And versus last year. And here I want this to be orange, so we'll change it to black. And then all I need to do is add the quantity up here. And I want this to be a size 16 to match the other ones. All right, and look at that. Oh, and I put the arrows in the wrong side. We're really just this guy here. Copy that. Oh. And then arrow down, we'll put that right here. Make sure they're all in the same line. There we go. And I do want the space here, but all right, that looks better. So we got our quantity KPI, we got our sales KPI, and we got our profit KPI. And this is not dollars, so we'll leave it as raw numbers. Make sure it looks the same. Yeah, that looks the same to me, except the title here. Ooh. Text. This is supposed to be this gray. All right, so we got our main KPIs. Let's go ahead and kind of start building the shell of the dashboard. We're not quite done, but just so you start seeing it. And I'm gonna do dimensions of 1200 by 700. It's just the way I liked how it looked, but you can do it however you'd like. And we'll start by adding a horizontal container. And this will be for our title and our filters later. Let's bring in our text in here. And we'll call this Superstore Performance 2023. Oh, and obviously we'll make that a lot bigger. Let's look at 24, bold. 24, bold, and hit OK. Cool. All right, that doesn't look too bad. Then I'm going to add, another horizontal container, and I'll bring these KPIs in there. There we go. And And I'm going to click on any of these sheets, and I'm going to hit horizontal container and distribute evenly. So now these take about the same amount of space. And then go here, remove the title since we already have the title, and fit entire view. So it's centered. Remove the title, fit entire view, remove the title, fit entire view. So now you can see how it's starting to take shape. We'll do that, leave that for now. Obviously we're close to finish, but we got the beginning. At the end it's gonna look similar to this. All right, so let's keep going. Now I'm gonna add a sheet that shows the profit by subcategory. So every product has a subcategory that is part of, and it's in this product hierarchy. And actually let's explore that so you can see it. So you got the product, the category is the highest type in the hierarchy, then subcategory, then manufacturer, and then product name. A category is only a couple, it's only 3, so I'm gonna do anything with that right now. But I do want to bring in the subcategory, and here's all the titles like accessories, appliances, art, binders, tables, supplies, storage, all kinds of stuff. And I want to see the profit for this year for all of these. So I'm gonna bring in current profit, current year, and I'll just like using show me. We'll make a bar chart here. When it comes to money, and you'll know by the context of your data, but obviously in sales we want sales profit to be high, right? The higher the profit, the better. So I always like to order these by highest to lowest, right? So we'll do that. So now I want to apply a color for my profit. So I'm going to drag current year profit into sum, and we're not going to leave it like this. We could leave it like this, but I think it's more impactful just to have one color that's for positive numbers and one that's for negatives. So I'm going to click step color, and I'm going to add 2 colors, then advanced. I'm going to add custom starts and end for the colors. So the start is going to be -1, and the end is going to be 1. So basically, everything that's negative, it's going to go into here, and everything that's positive is going to go into blue. And we'll customize the colors. We want orange, which let me make sure. I don't know if that's the default. No, it's not. This is the one we've been using. The one we've been using is FF9500. Cool. And then the blue we've been using is 06549F. You can use whatever color you want, just make sure it's consistent across your dashboard. You could do green and red, although I don't like using that for accessibility reasons. I like my blue and my orange. All right, so here's one. Now we can clearly see where we're making money and where we're not. But another thing we're gonna do is I don't want my users to have to guess how much profit there was. I don't want them to have to go and click and hover or follow the line or anything like that. So I'm gonna grab the profit, I'm gonna hit Control, and I'm gonna drag that into label. By hitting Control, it keeps it up there as well and just adds a copy in here. If I were to just drag it, it would remove it and just make a table, right? And we don't want to do that. So Control, drag that into label, and now you can see my numbers. And let's format these to be currency, and I don't need cents. And I do want these bolded. All right, and now here's another trick I like to do. So now that these labels are bolded, are labeled, I don't need the axis down here, so I'm just gonna remove the header. And also another thing I'm going to do is format. I'm gonna remove all these lines that we don't need. So we'll go in here, and sometimes you kind of just have to go through every line to find out which ones you want to remove. And here's my grid lines for columns. So that's what I wanted to remove. All right. And then format, I always like to format my text to be left aligned and bolded. Just so it looks a little cleaner that way. And we're still seeing some lines. I couldn't see them, but we have some lines to remove still. Axis ruler, drop lines, reference lines, none. Axis rulers. Okay, so that got rid of that line, and we got rid of the bottom line. All right, so there's our profit by subcategory. And another thing, since we already labeled this by subcategory, we don't need this to say subcategory because we already know that's what they are. So I'm going to hide the field labels for the rows. And now we have a lot more room in there for our visualization. All right, next up, we're going to do a line chart and call this sales by month. And what we're gonna do is bring the order date into columns, and we don't want the year, we want the month right here. All right, so that's your months. And then we're gonna bring in sales for the current year and sales for the previous year. Right, and we're gonna do a dual axis chart. So I'm gonna right click, then select dual axis, and now they're both in the same axis. But one thing that happens all the time with these dual axis dashboards is they are not on the same axis. So here we have 10K, 20K, 30K, but like if you look, here's 80K, but if you line it up, it's like 98K. So to do that, we're gonna right click and you're gonna synchronize these so they're on the same scale. All right, so we don't need this size since they're on the same scale, show header. And what I'm going to do, all right, so let's see. Current year is in blue and previous year is in orange. I want my current year to be my blue that I like. So it's gonna be 06549F. And then my orange, actually, I don't want orange. I want this gray. So you can see that it's last year's sales. Right, and then one thing is you can see here the orange, the blue is behind the gray. So I'm gonna move these like this. And now you can see the blue is in front of the gray. Another thing I'll do is I'm gonna increase the size of my current year, the thickness of the line. So you can, it's very dramatic here, right? But obviously you don't want that. And a little bit more. I think that looks good. And then for previous year, I'm gonna make the opacity a little lighter so you don't see it as much, but you obviously still see it. All right, so let's move that header. And then see these names don't really quite fit. So I'm gonna format that. Instead of the whole name, just the abbreviation's fine. All right, and we don't need the order date, but you know what? I do need the header. Show me that header. All right, and I'm gonna edit axis here because I don't need the title in there. It's gonna be pretty self-explanatory with the sales by month at the top. Don't need that field label there. And the only thing I'll add here, I'm gonna change the title, sales by month, make this size 12, bolded. I'm going to say 2023, 2022. And I'll make these size 9. And I'm gonna color 2023 and my favorite blue, and 2022 in a light gray. And we'll just say CCCCC, that gray right there. All right, so that's kind of, instead of having to add a key or anything, the user will know that 2023 is blue and 2022 is back, in the back. And for the last bit, we'll just remove all the lines and anything that we don't want in there. All right, so I'm just gonna hit none on everything because I don't want any column dividers, I don't want any row dividers. Okay, that's removed. And 0 lines, drop lines, axis ticks. All right, and that looks good to me. So let's move on. Now we're going to do a product, top 5 products by sales amount. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is bring in our sales for the current year, and then our product names. And we're gonna flip that over here, sorted by largest to smallest. And I'm gonna bring in the label over here, format that as dollars, and then get rid of this header down here. So everything's labeled. Make sure this is left aligned and bolded. One thing about these product names, they're all pretty long. I think one thing we could do, or you could do as part of your learning, is shorten these names. If you want to look up how to do string manipulation in Tableau, like you could do Canon image class 2022 advanced copy, or instead of Canon, you could just put C or some other abbreviation like Hewlett Packard, it could be HP. things like that. But we're not going to do that in this exercise. Anyway, so I want the top 5 products, right? So one thing we can do, there's a couple of ways to do this, but I think the easiest for this exercise is to copy this. So I hit Control and I just dragged it, just like we did before. And I'm gonna just regular click here. I'm gonna add a quick table calculation, and it's going to be the rank. So I'm gonna click that, and now that's going to give me a rank. So this cannon is rank number 1. It is formatted as dollars, but that's fine. So it kind of just gives you the order, right? So it's got the most, and we're gonna grab this and put it in my filters. And I'm gonna add my range of values from 1 to 5. So I want it to the top 10. I could put a 10 in there, but I just want to see my top 5 products. Hit OK. There we go. And we're looking almost done. Changed my colors to my favorite blue. I don't need the product name here. And these are my top selling products overall, my top 5. In the dashboard, we'll add interactivity. So, these will change depending on filters and whatnot. But for now, these are just my overall top 5 selling products. And again, let's go and get rid of the lines, anything that we don't want to see. Grid lines, 0 lines. Everything's got to go. All right, that looks good to me. Now let's move on to our last 2 visualizations. And they're pretty similar, so they're going to go by quick. The first going to be the order distribution by shipping mode. And we're going to bring in our shipping mode or ship mode. Bring that here into rows. And then there is a field called orders count. We're going to bring that into our columns. And we're going to sort it from smallest to largest, or largest to smallest, And this is just like a count. This is a count of orders, but I want to see the percent. So I'm going to click here, quick table calculation, and percent of total. So now, and if I hit Control to copy this, bring it into text, now we can see 60% of our orders are shipped in the standard class, 19% in second class, 15% in first class, and 5% on the same day. So first thing, format, right click, left align, get rid of the field labels, and I don't need this header anymore. And for my formatting here, I'm going to say percentage with no decimals. All right, and then blue is my color of choice. And I forgot to bold this. All right, so now we can see 6% of our orders to 5%. And this is just a quick one. It's not going to be a big visual, but I think it's important to see anyways, or at least interesting. And the point of a lot of dashboards, guys, is going to be to answer questions, right? Or to make new questions. Like, hey, we see that, standard is 60%, but maybe second and first class are more profitable. How can we push more users this way, right? And things like this could bring questions, good or bad, right? But things that might be worth exploring. All right, so that's all of that. And then for my last thing, I wanted order distributions by category. It's going to be very similar. I'm not going to duplicate it because it might confuse you more than anything, but we'll say order distribution by category. But it's going to be very much the same thing. So we're going to bring our orders count into columns and our categories into rows. And you see this plus icon? This plus means that it's part of a hierarchy. So a user could go in here and expand this. It's going to depend on your use cases. Sometimes I find that this confuses my end users, unless I've trained them a lot to say, hey, if you see that plus button, just open it. I don't want this for this visual, so I'm going to remove the hierarchy. That way they don't even have the option. It's going to be up to you and your users. But for now, I'm going to leave it off. Okay, so we got our counter orders. Majority are office supplies, technology. Office supplies. Let's sort this. Office supplies, furniture, and technology, right? So again, same thing. This one's a little easier since there's only 3 categories. I'm going to show the header. And I'm just going to do a quick table calculation, percent of total. And I'm going to hold control and drag this into a label like we've done before. And now we can see 60% of our orders are office supplies, then furniture, then technology. The only thing we'll do is fix the formatting. Oop, wrong way. 0 and dark blue. And then let's get rid of all the lines that we don't want to see. No line. All right, so now we've got all our dashboards, all our visuals, profit by subcategory, sales by month, top 5 products, order distribution by shipping mode, and order distribution by category. So let's go back to our dashboard. All right, first thing, I believe, yeah, we're gonna add, oh, you know what? I forgot this. So in your layout, you're gonna select your background and you're gonna add this color, just to give your boxes some separation. And what you'll see, once we're done, it's gonna look really nice. All right, so we're gonna add another horizontal container. It's gonna be here at the bottom. And we're gonna bring it up to the top. Actually, that looks about right. And then we're gonna add a horizontal container. And our first thing is going to be profit by subcategory. It's gonna bring this in. When I get rid of this up here, I'm gonna right click, I'm gonna regular click, fit entire view. And then with this container selected, we're gonna add a background of white. Cool, so that's our first visual. Then what I want to do is I'm gonna add another vertical container next to this one. And this is gonna house our sales by month and our top 5 products. So I'm gonna bring in our sales by month here at the top and top 5 products by sale amount. Gonna get rid of this. Vertical container, and then I'm gonna distribute the contents evenly. All right, and make sure this is set to entire view, and make sure this one is to entire view. Cool, and then I'm going to add another vertical container next to this one. And sometimes you just gotta play with it. All right, so that container is good. Oop. Vertical container, we're gonna go here. All right, so we got this container here. And it's gonna be for our order distributions. So this category, I'm gonna put category at the top and order distribution at the bottom. And again, click vertical container and distribute evenly. And now you got this. All right, so this is our skeleton basically. Now to make this look a little better, we're gonna select every sheet and we're gonna add a background of white. So let's go through and do that. White, white, and make sure these are set to fit the entire view. Fit the entire view. All right, so you can see the background is gray and all of these boxes are white. So it gives us a little bit of separation, which makes it look a lot better. I feel like a lot of beginner projects just have all the dashboards right up on each other. That doesn't look as clean, as professional as it can look. Because in the workplace, you'll find more things like this. Maybe not as many visuals, maybe not as many colors or things like that. It's going to be up to your company's preference, but they're definitely going to be more polished. They're not going to just have visuals right on top of each other. Let's do some more visuals here. I'm going to add this, stretch this out a little more, and I want to rotate these. All right, so see now more of my visual fits. Same thing, I don't need to see the exact number. I don't need to see, the whole name, because I can hover and see it, right? All right, let's see, what else can we fix here? Okay, so in all of these, you want to add some inner padding. So you're going to see how much better that looks. Inner padding, you could do 5 or 10, you can mess around with it, but for this, we'll do 5. See, so now not everything is right up against the border. If you want to see again how it used to look. and width 5. You can also customize it, like give it more at the top, at the bottom, or the right. You'll just have to uncheck this. But for the most part, I like all the sides being equal. And if in case you can't find this, it's going to be here on the second tab on layout when you select the sheet. All sides equal. And then all sides equal over here. All right, so that's looking good. Another thing we can do is bold the titles. What do we think? Does that look a little aggressive? I think it's got titles too big here. Yeah, we'll do these 12. Yeah. 12 and bold. And same thing here. 12 and bold. And we'll do 12 and bold. All right, and that's looking good. I'm liking this. Let's hide this field label. All right, and is this bolded? Yep, it is. Just looks lighter to me. What about these? Format. Yeah, it's bolded. All right, what it's not bolded, I believe, is the labels. Yeah, these are not bolded. Let's bold that. Make it pop more. And I like to bold it just to make them easier to read. I know I've had some stakeholders in previous jobs who, are getting a little up there in age and they're like, wait, I can't really read it. So you gotta cater to your audience, right? Maybe keep making text bigger, bolding things, whatever makes it easier for them to make decisions is what we're gonna do here. All right, so this is looking good, if I say so myself. Let's see. A couple of things we're gonna do still is customize tooltips and add our filters. But let's start with the title here. Layout, we're gonna add a background here. And let's do inner padding. Yeah, that looks good. One thing I want to add are filters. So I'm just gonna grab any of these sheets, and the filters I'm gonna use are country. I'm gonna throw that into the filters here and select everything. Then I'm going to look for my region, and these are like west, east, and all of that. I'm gonna bring that in. And my segment. My segment is it a consumer product, corporate, or home office? I'm gonna bring those in. All right, so let's go back to my dashboard, and I'm gonna right-click on my regular click on the arrow, and there's the filters. So I'm gonna click, and by default, the filters in this are gonna be whatever measures or calculated fields you have in your dashboard. So that's why I brought those in to make sure they show up here. So first is country, then it's region, and segment is what I want. But I don't want them here on the side, I want them up here. So I'm just gonna drag them in. There we go. All right, so, and these by default are this kind, multiple values list. Usually like multiple values dropdown. And that lets the user be able to customize it. So if they only want to see consumer, they only want to see corporate or home office, or they want to see everything, right? So that's your segment. This is our country. I'm going to name this to just country because that's all it's showing. It's just showing US and Canada, and both of those are countries, right? And then my region, multiple values drop down, and we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to add a white white background. And yeah, I'll do some inner padding too. Why not? Oh yeah, that looks good. All right, let's move these around. I want country first. Country and then region. All right, look at how good that looks. All right, so one thing we need to do though is make sure these apply to everything. So right now, if I play with this, it only affects this visual here because that's the filter we got it from. That's the sheet we got it from. So we're going to click here on the arrow and apply to worksheets. So this is asking which sheet should this apply to. By default, it's only this worksheet, so only the sheet it came from. Another one is only selected worksheets, and you can customize it, like maybe there's a specific filter that you only want to customize to affect certain sheets. You can do that. But usually, I use all using this data source because that will affect everything. Well, that is the same data source, which we are. If you are using multiple data sources, you might want to use all related data sources, but all using this data source works for me. And all using this data source. So now, if we select country and select Canada, everything's going to filter to show only Canada products or United States products. Same things here with region. I'm going to uncheck all, hit East, and now this is just my East region data sets, or data points, I guess. Same thing, I can customize it, and there we go. All right, so these are my filters. Here's my title. Let's do a couple things, a little bit of a checklist. When you're building on a dashboard, when I'm reviewing resumes or some of my mentees that book time with me and I review their dashboards, usually one thing I check is if everything is spaced out like this, just makes it cleaner. Another thing I look at is your tooltips. This is a big miss for a lot of people, even more advanced analysts. They leave the default tooltips on. And I think that just makes it, if you're in the know, you very quickly know that it's someone that maybe doesn't have that much experience. Because the tooltips are a very, very powerful tool you can use. All right, so by default, the only thing the tooltip's going to show me are the measures and the value. So right now I have a subcategory and what my profit is, right? So let's customize this. What could be helpful here? So I've got current year sales. Maybe I bring in last year just to add a little more context in here. So look at that now. I've got copiers, current year profit, and past year profit. And let's bring in what the percent difference was. The percent difference from the last year. Let's bring that into tooltip. All right, so now I know for this year, my sales were 25,000. Last year they were 17,000, and the percent difference is 41%. But let's customize this to make it look nice. So first, profit for the previous year. This should be currency. All right, so, which one did I do? Current year, past year. Profit, past year. Default number format, currency. Okay, there we go. Let's click into the tooltip. And one watch out here with the tooltip is once you start editing it here, it's not going to automatically update anymore. So if I edit something here and then I want to add another field, I'll have to reset this to make sure it shows up. Anyway, so you can always see the preview here is how it's going to look. And I'm going to delete the subcategory title. So now it's going to look like this, so accessories. And I'm going to delete the space here. I'm going to say profit. I could leave it as CY, current year, but maybe I'll leave it as 2023. And profit previous year, 2022. That way it's very clear what the numbers are. And I'm going to say percent change. And again, change the space and preview it. That's how it's going to look. And one thing I like to remove is include command buttons and allow section by category. We can dive into that in a different video, but just makes it so users have less things to mess up on. All right, so you can see, like, this is interesting. Look, where did I go? Binders. It's my 5th highest selling profitable category, but we're down from last year. Isn't that interesting? And we could, in a more advanced video, maybe we'll do something like this, where we add a circle or a warning icon showing that it's down from last year, but it's still positive, right? Let me know if you want to see something like that. Let's go back to our dashboard. Now we got a profit by subcategory. And look at that. That already gives me a lot more info than before. And it just looks better than before. Same thing by month. Let's see, what does this give us? Okay, so let's look at that. I'm not going to put too much on here. I'm going to grab my previous year sales, throw it in tooltip, current year sales. So now, here's our orders. Let me make sure this sales, CY and PY, these are formatted as currency. No decimals, previous year. Now, how's that? All right. The only thing we'll change really here is we'll delete that, take these off, and that's how it's gonna look. January, sales current year, previous year, and let's make sure this matches. Sales 2023, sales 2022, move the space, and that looks a lot better. Cool. November, sales 2023, cool. We could add a percent change too. You wanna do that? Let's do it. Oh, but you know what? Remember I told you guys that if you change the tooltip after you've already touched it, nothing's gonna update. So let's bring that in so you can see what I'm talking about. See, I brought that in, but nothing's happening. So what I need to do is I'm gonna copy this, and I'm gonna reset this. And I go back to tooltip, I'm gonna copy this at the bottom, and I'm gonna bring that in as a new field. And what should I say? Well, let's copy it. Let's just copy all of this. But I want this to say percent change. And get rid of all this space. And I can just delete here at the top. And don't forget to click that off. And now look at that, 20% higher than last year, 49. You can see that month by month. Or like this one, you see we're lower, percent change 21%, right? And let's make this a little bigger. Oh, here's what happened. Edit axis. Actually, it was my format that changed here because I changed the format of cells up here. Number. And display units in thousands. There we go. And again, let's push this to the corner. That looks good. All right. Now here I'm not gonna do too much because we already have sales from last year. Only thing I'm gonna do is remove the product name, remove this, remove that. And now you can see the entire name. All right, order distribution subcategory. I'm not gonna add too much here either. These are simple. I'm just gonna change the category. Remove this, remove that. What do we get? Office supplies. And let's change that name. That is so long. Percent of total. Yeah, just call it that, percent of total. 60%. Yeah, that looks good to me. Supplies are total percent, 22. Since these are not, these don't show as much information, there's no need to do that much to the total. And I'm gonna remove this. All right, look at that. We've got custom tooltips on all our visuals. One thing I want to do though is just clean it up. One, I'm going to rename this to Superstore Performance, and I'm going to right click, and you're going to hide all sheets, and this is going to hide all the sheets that are in this dashboard from showing up down here and cluttering your toolbar. So hide all sheets. Look how clean that looks now. So you got copiers, you got all of this. Just the last thing we'll do here is add tooltips for the KPI boxes. Really just customize it because they already do have them. I'm going to bring in, this is profit. It's going to bring in last year. Now we can see that. And I think this is all I want to show. I want to show profit this year, profit last year, and the percent change. So we'll do that. We'll delete all of this. Oh, you know what we could do here? Because we won't have the arrow. Oh, but you know what? It's already showing the percent change from last year. So I think the The only thing I'll do here is I'll just have last year's profit. We'll add this, change this to 2023 just to match, and 2022 down here. Look at that profit. And again, the tooltip is just to give more context. It's not meant to be this huge visual. Oh, I forgot to bring in my cells for the previous year. Tooltip. Rename these. 2023, 2022, and remove command buttons. And last one, quantity, previous year, delete all of these, command buttons, 2023, 2022, ooh. Keep doing that. All right, preview. All right, and look at that. Now we've got custom tooltips and all of our visuals and our KPIs everywhere. So the last step we're going to do is to make sure that these are able to filter every other visual, just so it's more interactive. So to do that, we're just gonna select all of the sheets and click the Use as Filter button. We'll just see that, and now you can see it's highlighted. And I'm going to do that for all the sheets in my dashboard. And now what we can do is, if you select any of these sheets, any item, any KPI in any of these sheets, they will filter all the other ones. So if you click on paper here, all the information now that we see in the dashboard is related to just paper. So now paper, you can look up here, the profit was 12,254, the sales were 28,000, and the quantity is 1,700, right? We can see the sales by month. We can see the types of paper that were sold the most, the distribution of the shipping modes, and the category, which is office supplies. Same thing here, if we click on this product, we can see its binders, we can see the sales by month, we can see what the shipping mode distribution and everything like that. So this just makes it more interactive, just a little flashier. And I think we're done. Look at that. Now you've got a pretty solid looking dashboard, if I say so myself. So a couple of watch outs. If you get stuck, leave a comment down in the comments and I'll see if I can help you out. If your numbers are a little different, remember what I said earlier. If you're using a different version of Tableau, the numbers might be different. Maybe Tableau's updated them by now. But again, this is Tableau version 2023.1. So if you're in 2023.3 or 2 or an older version, the Superstore numbers will be different. A couple other watch outs. When you're using and you're following videos like this, it's really just more for practice and for you to get your ideas flowing. So this is great. I mean, if you want to copy this beat for beat and put it on your Tableau public profile, by all means do it. But also make sure you're adding your own projects, right? So maybe you don't know how to do the custom tooltips, or you learn how to do this arrow up with the color coded. Use that in your own project. That's going to be a lot more valuable than following a video like this. This is really just as a resource, but you got to think of how many other people will watch this video. I hope you're not the only one. Otherwise, but if you are, great, you'll have a unique dashboard. Otherwise, you'll have a dashboard in your portfolio that a lot of other people have as well. So you gotta always think of how can you be different from the rest, right? But anyways, I hope this was very helpful to you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. Also, let me know if you have any other content ideas you want to see from me. I'm gonna make a couple more of these if you guys like them. You can find me on Instagram, you can find me on TikTok, and that's it. Catch you guys next time.